So the nib has kind of a chiseled shape, and you can use it in a lot of different directions, like on its tip, on its side of its tip, broadside, and then you can twist and turn the marker to fit to whatever edge that you're drawing, right? So you have to kind of get used to fitting it into the area that you're working. We're using marker paper, so this paper doesn't bleed, which is awesome. Because all other papers, you have to leave, like a millimeter, because the marker's going to bleed out to the line. So here you're pretty safe, but do not linger or it will blob and spread. So you kind of have to, you can see as soon as I stop to get a darker spot, so you want a fluid movement. It's a lot like thinking of it instead of a pen, think of it as a paintbrush, okay? So that'll help because you've painted too. All right, so I want to sort of choose what edge is going to kind of fit what I'm doing. So, and try to fit the pen, and you might want to move Zoe so you can see better past my hand. Stand behind me. And you want to keep the wet edge moving because as soon as it dries, it shows. It's a lot like watercolor painting that we always want to keep that wet edge moving. So I can freehand it if I want. You see how I stopped following that perspective? So I'm using the chisel point to show the perspective of that. And I want to just saturate it so it's nice and black. That's really dark wood. And then it's nice and smooth looking. So if I put quite a lot on, it's not going to look streaky like marker often does. So you can either freehand or you could use a straight edge. So in this case, the light's coming from the right side, so we're going to use the darker marker on the left side to create some contrast. So if I want to draw with a straight edge, it's good to use something that it keeps it off the surface. So what I'm going to do with this ruler, because it's got a bit of a shape, I'm going to turn it upside down so it's not going to draw any marker underneath it and bleed under. So in this case, I want to put the marker down so that it conforms to the perspective drawing. So I'm going to use the tip this way instead of, say, that way, right? So, oops, I want to get the whole edge contacting. Oops, I goofed. Well, it's okay because it's all the same color. I'm going to just get that going while it's still wet then. So you can use a straight edge if you find it easier. You can either fit the marker to the thing or you can take, if you find it safer, use the thinner side so you don't go past your line. And just double up till you get to meet up with your line. So, and then I need this side. So you want to twist the marker till it fits to the area. And sometimes you have to twist and turn onto the tip, so that it fits the perspective, right? So I think since my legs are kind of skinny, it would be dangerous to do it broadside. I'm going to use the tip. So nice smooth strokes. So sometimes if you're not exactly neat, you can twist onto the edge to just neaten something up. Okay, and try to be careful to keep neat at the bottom there. And if something happens by mistake, there's always get out some pencil crayon because they're opaque and you cover it up and you fix it. Okay, so now it's like watercolor paint. The page is wet right now. So I don't want to paint or put marker beside that till it's dry, or I'm going to have a fuzzy edge instead of a crisp edge. And so for this piece of furniture, like I wouldn't mind fuzzy edges on this part, but I don't want that on the legs. I want it to look crisp. So I just gotta give it, a few minutes. These are alcohol-based markers, so they dry really fast, but they just need a little bit of time to evaporate off. Okay. So I'm gonna go where I started, where it should be dry by now, and use the next color. So this can be a little tricky getting inside triangles like that, but you can fit it, like that seems to fit the width, and then I could twist to fit into that shape. That takes a bit of practice though. At this point for you guys, it'd probably be better to turn onto a narrower side, either like this or upside down like that. Okay. With practice, you can get quite fast though. I'm wondering if I should have a 70%, because that's not showing a lot of contrast.
Which gray is that?
This is 80%, and I just think it's fresher than my 90%.
Okay. Is that the warm gray? Or?
It's French gray. So now that back leg doesn't have a lot of contrast anyway, so, but I think I'm going to shift to the 70% for the rest of it so that I have more contrast. Which I think I have one over here.
There's an 80 over here.
So I'm going to switch to 70 so that this shows up more strongly. Now it's wood, so it's okay if I leave some streaks because that might help show the wood. So thinking of it as paint is really helpful. And you'll find that depends on your markers and how new they are, that they'll go on a little differently. This one's a bit dry. So I find that turning on to the end like this kind of helps when I'm trying to color in small spots. Usually, I mean, as a designer, I want to get it on there as cool as I can. One stroke, like that's not too bad. Mm-hmm. I want to get it done fast. And the looser your style, the looser your application can be too. If you have a loose, sketchy style, then you don't even have to color inside the edges perfectly. It's okay. So it really depends on what you're after. I might want to leave some streaks because it's wood, right? To kind of be able to give some sense of what that material is. I can also build up streaks to show a little bit of wood graining. So that's not too bad for now. If I want to add some more warmth to that, to make it less black or more rich, do you have the sepia over there?
Yeah.
So sepia is like a warm, well, a cool brown. It's warmer than this French gray we have. So you could either layer it on top, or with this paper, because it's translucent, you can color on the back to give it a little extra richness. So, and I think that might look kind of nice. So either to color on top with some pencil crayon or pastel to give it some warmth, or to color on the back with a warmer color. There's only so much you can put on the face of the paper. Just doing that to give it some extra strength and richer color. Still got to color inside the lines. I think I'm doing it a little bit more quickly, but it shows through, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see what we get on the other side when I turn it over. It doesn't go on as smoothly, so you have to see whether we like it. You can certainly layer colors to get the color and the effect that you want as well. Let's see. That's not bad. It did give it a little bit more richness, but it didn't interfere with the rendering I've already done. So you can see the difference from here to here where I did not do it. It's subtle, but it looks much richer. So it's a nice technique too, especially for textiles, carpets, things like that, where you want to just try to get an undertone underneath what you're doing, and you realize that you need a little bit more than what you got on the front side. It's a neat little trick. Strengthen it up a bit. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. The next stage then is to get the basic color on the seat, back and front. a lot of the rendering we're going to do with chalk pastel on top. The seat has more form, I'd say, because of the edges than the back does. So we still want to do a little bit of striping with our markers. I ended up separating where I had everything. So we're going to use, so the spotlight is coming from slightly above and to the right, so the top of the seat is the lightest. Second is the front edge and the back, right? Darkest is the side. But the leather is lighter than the wood, so its shade side is still lighter than that side. So I'm going to start by coloring in the top plane. I'm not going to leave the white that I see. I'm going to add that on top after. I will show you a way that we can achieve that highlight with marker, just so you know. And it depends on your view. Like for Julia, you don't have, from where you're sitting, a hard white highlight on the rolled edge there so much. You have a soft sort of grazing highlight across the top of the seat. If we want to achieve that, can you pass me some of the lighter markers, like say the 20, I think we have a 20%, don't we? So I would probably use a 10% normally on this, but we don't seem to have one. So I would use a lighter marker or a colorless blender. You can get just the liquid. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my marker and put partway across a little bit of the darker color so that I can create that highlight. I'm just going to hold it on there till it absorbs a little bit in, so you see that there's a little bit of darker on that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to run across this area to create that streak. I think I need a darker marker to get that to show. So these markers, if you keep good care of them, do last a long time, provided you cover them up. Now, if I don't, they run out, of course, and dry up. They can dry up overnight if you don't cap them properly. But if you do, like I've got markers that are more than 12 years old and they're still working. But because they're not doing this as well as a new marker would. A new marker you wouldn't have to hold or switch to a lighter color or darker color like I did. But this allows you to get a rendered edge that's soft by coming across partway on a lighter colored marker. So it just makes that blending easier than if you didn't do that. So let's see. Do you want to cap that for me? So it's there. Just going to blend that out a bit. Hopefully 20% so I don't have a hard edge. And then I think we were going to do 40% on that, right?
Yeah.
So
30.
So what I'm doing, I'm just going across, back and forth, overlapping each previous stroke. Smooth back and forth, making sure that I'm staying inside my edges. And I want to put it on smooth, so I want to saturate the page. So I'm going to go over that again in another direction. And so you're getting it wet as if you're painting it, so that it's nice and smooth. I'm just leaving that little bit of a highlight there. And then while that's saturated, I'm going to switch to a darker color for the front panel, maybe a 60%. But it hasn't dried yet, so it'll give me a slightly softer edge. I'm just using the broad side of that marker. And I'm not being concerned about leaving the white where the rivets are, because I'm going to draw them on top with either chalk pastel pencil or a pencil crayon or something like that, and it'll draw on top of the dark to show up those highlights. So here we have that soft highlight there that we're going to beef up with some white media on top, and it's on fairly smooth. So, and then I'm going to add a dark side here. So I think if I layer this 60, or I could go to a 70%. It's pretty contrasty, isn't it? So let's use a 70. I'm going to be cursing that I left those windows open when I go to edit this video. And is it still ready?
Still going.
Sometimes it auto shuts up. And leave a little curl on that, right? This is where we get some of the shape to that chair, is that it shows that it's padded, it's not perfectly square. So you see how we don't need an outline there, really, right? Because we show it with the contrast. Yeah, and now you know it's an upholstered chair. There's a little bit of shade and shadow, a little bit of shading on the seat cover. You could do that with marker, or you could do it with the pastel after. It's actually easier to do it with the pastel after. So marker, pastel, and pencil crayon all combine very, very well together. So we get, something quick and strong with the marker, and then we add the finesse with the other two media. Okay, so then the back side is a little bit darker than the top side, so we're going to use 50%. So these go up in 10% increments. I'm probably going to add a little bit of extra rendering of some darker colors on the shade sides here as well. I could do a blend if I wanted with shifting to a lighter marker, but since you guys are beginners at marker rendering, I don't think it's worth it because we can just do that with pastel. So, illustrators and industrial designers that use marker a lot, and fashion designers, they might, choose to do that. I think let's just keep it simple for now. So I want to smooth actions, saturating the page, and if you're right-handed, you're going to start at the left because it does smear underneath your hand if you don't. And I'm kind of following also with my streaks a little bit the shape of the chair, just so if there are any streaks, it's going to kind of show me what.
Stopped recording. I just started again.
Yep. Got it?
Yep. The battery's a little low.
Okay. Oh, I'm really worried about these markers, guys. Maybe we'll have, Julia, if you don't mind, maybe making a different color chair.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Because Zoe's kind of more important right now.
Yep.
Sorry. That her portfolio is due and she's studying interior design. So we want her to have enough.
Yeah, my chair can be any color.
Although you could do this chair any color you want, Zoe. I mean, if you want to do a red leather chair.
Well, I was actually thinking about that because it's the first thing in my portfolio.
We could change the color.
Yeah, I kind of want
Purple or
pop, like
yeah,
purple or
sure.
red.
Let's not do it gray then.
Yeah.
Sure. But what we'll have to do is make sure we have the colors we need
Yeah.
and the tones we need to do it.
Like either like
So-
a green or a red or
Sure.
like a gemstone
Yeah.
color.
Yeah. Okay. Because this one looks like it's drying out anyway. So what I can do if I want, sometimes with leather, people like to add some additional rendering on top with the marker before it's dried. And just soften that. So you start to get some of that shape already, and down in here. So pretty much using the same color and just layering it works quite well, right? And you could render where it looks darker as well if you want. And then blend with the lighter color. If you can pick it up fast enough. So instead of using a clear blender, blend with the lighter color. Because I find that clear blenders just make it look kind of pixelated, like textured. They don't really work very well. So if you want like a leathery, streaky finish, like sometimes it depends on the chair. Like this one's really pulled tight, so it's not necessarily, you know, the type of chair that you'd want these streaks, but on more, you know, bulky, overstuffed type leather furniture, drawing streaks into it works pretty well. So that's not bad. And then I can add the pastel on top. What I want you guys to get to is this stage first, and then we'll see, okay, how do we add those things. I wouldn't mind seeing just a little more contrast into the fold line there. You see what I'm doing? Like kind of quick, speed up, pull up, off to get that blend. Yeah. I can do that in here too. A little bit. Good. I'm pretty happy with that. That's enough. Like I can do the rest of it if I want with the different media. This is where having old markers is nice for stuff like that, because that's harder to do with a new marker. Okay, so I'm pretty happy. That's already not bad looking.
Yeah, that looks good.
Adding a cast shadow will help it a lot too, and we can see a little bit of evidence for cast shadow, putting it on a surface rather than floating on white. But let's start with just get the chair. So let's find some good colors for Zoe.
That looks really good.
Yeah, I like it.